Then we'll hit record on here. Okay. I'm Johnny Ray, and this is 5R Recovery, another episode of 4 Addicts from Addicts, real, raw, unedited, and unprepared testimonies of people who have gone through the struggles of addiction and have pulled themselves out on the other side. With me today is Gracie and Amanda, who have agreed to share a little bit of their story about how mother and daughter tandem. This is our very first ever mother and daughter tandem.
Yes.
Looking forward to this story. Maybe you can hear a message that will help you get through your recovery and help you patch up relationships with your daughter. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Gracie and Amanda. So
Thank you, Johnny.
You're welcome.
So yeah, this is kind of a platform that we wanted to utilize. We don't really get to talk to the children of parents that are addicts very often. We hear about them, but I think it coming right from their mouth is kind of a necessity to help other kids. So back in 2015 is when I relapsed. I had issues with drugs in the past, but I had gotten clean and sober, and I spent almost four years clean. But she was little, and I was so happy to have overcome that while she was young. In 2015, we had a lot of losses. We lost a lot of people that year that passed away, and I just got stuck in my grief and couldn't cope anymore. And, like most parents do, we think that we are hiding it so well and that they don't know, or that they're not picking up on it because it wasn't the life that they know. This one right here knew, absolutely. And I'll never forget the day she confronted me either, and she just said, "Mom, stop with the lies." And I guess you wanted to talk about how you found out?
Honestly, I just found out by she's going in the bathroom a lot and spending a lot more time in there. And I remember one day specifically, I went in the bathroom and I saw her purse and I saw this stuff, and I kind of tried to keep it quiet because I wasn't sure at first. And I talked to my grandma and my dad about it, and then they're like, "Talk to her one more time." And I did, and she tried to deny it a couple times. So then I went back to my grandma and dad, and we had an intervention to get her better. It didn't work because you can't force it. It's something they have to want to do. So it took a couple years, but finally I remember getting the phone call of her. It was a random number. I looked at my phone. I said, "Who is calling me at this hour?" Because nobody calls me in the middle of the day. So I looked at my phone and I was like, I'm just gonna answer it because maybe it's a family member or something. And I remember her saying, "I'm in treatment right now. I'll be in here this long. Here's the visitation days." And I just remember the feeling of relief of it actually happened.
So can we talk a little bit about how it was before this particular date that you guys were speaking of?
Yeah.
So let's talk about how was it like for you growing up? Was Amanda, were you around? I mean, how was it?
I was around until
Until 5th grade.
Until 5th grade, and
Okay.
even then I was still in the picture, but it wasn't until the last 2 years of active addiction that I was gone, and my family had to file a missing persons report on me, and that is hard. That 2 years is really hard for me to speak about right now, because I'm clean and I am aware of the pain that I put my family through, but my daughter through mostly. So during that time, you always think that you're fine until you're not. I thought I was a functioning addict. Even after that intervention that didn't work, I thought that I still had it under control. I hadn't surrendered. I hadn't. I still thought I was in control of the whole situation. And meantime, I went from being a great mom to just slowly becoming more and more absent. Wouldn't you say?
You went from being the PTA mom of the school and constantly going, and then I still remember my very first time realizing was when she said she'd be at a field trip and she never showed up. I just remember my whole class being like, "Gracie, where's your mom? She's supposed to shop around," and she never showed up. And then it just from there on, she just kind of went absent a little bit, and that's when I knew something was up.
Yeah. I mean, I think that our biggest shame and guilt as parents through our active addiction is what we've put our kids through. That's for me the hardest thing to get past. This is probably the most raw and open we've been about it. It's hard for her to talk about it. I see her stuffing and bottling her emotions, but this is healthy. This is something that we need to do, and she's adamant about wanting to help other kids her age. Maybe
Not even just my age, anyone going through it.
anybody going through it. I mean, how and can you explain? Were you bullied because of me when people found out?
When people found out, it was really hard because everyone would make jokes about it, because they would think it would be funny, but they would just make jokes about it, and that's something really touchy, and it feels like it never gets better, but in reality, it doesn't 100% get better. There's always going to be that pain and stuff, but it calms down for sure.
I think that with the biggest eye-opener was when my parents filed a missing persons report, and my daughter was like, "Don't even bother. She's out doing drugs. She's fine. She's not dead, or she's not this." But I mean, I can't even, how many nights did you lay awake wondering where I was at, you know?
Too many to count.
Mm-hmm. So when I went into treatment and I made that phone call to her, it was, sorry.
It's okay.
It was a big relief because I knew that she knew I was safe. But it was a struggle too because I knew I was going to have to come to terms with what I had put her through. And I didn't know if she'd ever forgive me. I grew up, you know, my father was an alcoholic and he went into recovery, and my mom, same, she had struggles with pain pills, and my mom had come to visit me the week after Gracie had come, and I'll never forget this. It was like that aha moment. Sitting across the table at treatment, talking to my mom and my sister, and my mom is pretty much asking me for the same grace and forgiveness that I had asked my child for the week prior. And that was what made it easy for me to just have radical acceptance and say, you know what, like, let's let it all go and move forward. And I had hoped that she would do the same thing. And the pride in her eyes and the huge hug that she gave me when she came to see me in treatment was just like, I'll never forget that moment. I'll never forget that. Like, that was probably the most gratifying moment in life, was just to give her peace of mind and let her know that I was safe. But we talked, and it was going to be a long uphill battle. I mean, I had lost her trust. I was no longer dependable. She didn't believe a word I had said. It all looked good coming to visit me in a treatment center, but what was going to happen when the doors opened and I walked out?
Right.
I knew my biggest thing that I had to do was take accountability, not minimize anything that I had done. I needed to tell her, I get it. This is what I did. I get it. This is how you're feeling. But how do we move forward from here? And I guess, I mean, what was your criteria for us being able to move forward?
Being able to like gain your trust back, and like when you said you would be somewhere, like that's what I mainly focused on. Like if you said you were gonna come visit, I focused on the time. I'm not even gonna lie. I looked at the clock. I'm like, if she's late, then I'm gonna know something's slipping up. Obviously, stuff happens. We're gonna be late.
Right.
But like that's how I knew that you relapsed, was your timing. So that's what I paid attention to when you got out.
So just seeing you, Gracie, talk and the way you present yourself is very grown up. So I imagine during this difficult time when your mom was going through addiction, you had to grow up really, really fast.
I had to mature really young.
The fact that you put a schedule out there for your mom to follow shows a lot of maturity, and I applaud you for that. And what you guys are doing right now is really going to help a lot of people who go through the same thing. So I want to talk more a little bit about your addiction personally, Amanda, and how it went, and growing up, and you know, specifically, was it methamphetamine, was it heroin, what was it?
Well, towards the end, it was anything I could get my hands on, right? You know, because that's what we do as addicts. But specifically, it started out with pain pills. I was that pain pill epidemic where I had a back injury and I was overprescribed. And so, you know, here I was, this, you know, suburban mom, you know, and I had these secrets of being a pain pill addict. And then it went from there to Oxy 80s. And when those went away, I made the decision to get clean. And this is when Gracie was about 6 years old. And I did that, and I stayed good for about 4 years, but I never got to the root of what I was numbing in the first place. And so it was inevitable. That year that we lost, 7 people died that year. And these aren't just people we know; these are people that we were close to. And I just spiraled, and the oxys were gone, and so my old dealer had offered heroin. Oh, oxys are gone, but I got this. This is a little bit better. And I was told it was opium at the time, and I was so naive to street drugs. And I always this is the number one misconception. I know there are so many other moms out there that thought like, as long as the doctor's prescribing it, or if it's Oxys 80s or Vicodin, Percocet, whatever, I'm good, right? So as soon as you switch over to heroin, it's like that dirty little, oh my God, you know? So I was so adamant about nobody knowing that that's what I was doing. And it wasn't until probably 3 years after that relapse, the last 2 years of my active addiction, maybe 3, that I got into methamphetamines. And of course they just go hand in hand, you know, and I was never really one to nod off. I was always that kind of, I tried to present myself well. I was like, if I'm a junkie, but I don't want nobody to know I'm a junkie, you know? I don't know where that comes from. I don't know why that was my mindset. But it got really bad because I couldn't even go to family functions anymore without needing to get high. I couldn't even make it an hour and 10-minute drive to my family's house up in Bellingham, where my daughter was at, for a family function, a birthday, a Christmas, without stopping at the rest stop 5 different times and getting high. I mean, it took me about 6 hours one time to make it up there because I just was so afraid of going up there and using at my family's house. So I just was using the whole way up there. And I remember a huge fight exploded that night when I got up there, and it just, you know, you would think that would be enough, and it wasn't. To see my daughter's like tears when she went to stay up with my family, and I'd have to take her up every Sunday, and having to leave her, and she'd be just devastated and crying and telling me not to go, and you would think that that would be enough for a child, or like your child, to say, you know, stop, mom, and you think you would do it, but you can't, because that drug has such a huger hold on you than anything else. It has nothing to do with your love for your kids or your family, and everything to do with the fact that it is way bigger than you or us or anybody. Like, this is something that you need help getting over. I mean, addiction is a disease, and it's something that we're trying to understand more and more every day. But it is something very powerful to take a mother from her kids and to not return back to her kids. I mean, I heard countless tears. I wish I could have stopped right then and there, and I couldn't. It just had that big of a hold on me.
So now, Gracie, do you see this? And if you had something to say to other kids that are out there going through the similar thing, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, like, obviously you can't force an addict to get help. It's something they have to do on their own time. But let them know, because I had to tell my mom, I said, get out of my life until you're better, and not even 6 months later, I got that phone call that she was in treatment. So, like, you may be, like, afraid. I was afraid for the first couple of years to stick up and be like, I don't want you in my life unless you're better and clean. But it's what you have to do, because that's what's really going to, like, shock them. You may feel like, oh, they don't care, they're not going to get better if I tell them, like, I don't want you in my life. But that's what I thought, and I finally just had to send her a text one day saying, I don't want you in my life until you get better. It was a hard decision, but it helped.
And I think, too, that it's also self-preservation. I think that this little heart had had enough of the pain and the suffering. And if I wasn't going to fix it, she had to fix it. And that was to cut me off completely until I did something about my problem. And I never thought it would be possible to get her trust and her love back and her pride, but
It took a lot of time.
it did take a lot of time. I mean, I'm almost 21 months into recovery, and it's just been probably, would you say, in like the last 6 months that
Since we moved into our apartment.
since we moved into our apartment, you know, and it's taken time, and we still have I can't go into the bathroom and get ready for too long with the door locked without her banging on the door. I mean, that's her PTSD from that.
Definitely.
And it's understandable. And that, to me, you know, when they say never forget where you come from, it's those little reminders for me that, okay, I need to reassure her. I need to go back and I need to let her know, or, you know, open the door. And that's been huge. Even if I lock the door and she knocks on the door, I'm right there to open it. You know, I mean, even if I'm jumping out of the shower butt naked, I'm like, hang on, Gracie, and I'm opening the door for her, because I need her to know that everything's okay.
Right.
She'll come in random times of the night to check on me, you know, when she's up. And I think more than anything, just make sure mom's there, you know. These are the little things that we have to deal with as parents that we've created for them. But it does get better. Like, if you just keep working towards it, it gets better.
It's obviously not easy, but it does.
No.
It gets better. It's worth it. It's worth all the time and tears and pain.
Yeah, and you know, the biggest thing too is having, you know, for your children to have people that they can relate to. I think the biggest turnaround came with Gracie when she met people in recovery, the kids of the people in recovery. You know, we have a great support circle, and they've been amazing. And for her to see that there's other children like her and kids like her that grew up just like she did, she finally felt like she belonged. I attribute it much to like us walking into a room with other addicts. Oh my God, these are my people, you know? So our children feel the same way about the other kids, because they're the only ones that understand, that truly understand what those nights were like, or those tough decisions to cut us off were like, and what it was like to have us locked away, or just take off and make decisions and not be the parents that they knew that we were, you know. The only ones that can understand that are them, and it's crucial.
Just see it firsthand.
Yeah, and it's crucial that you have support. I think that you shut down when you didn't have peers that understood.
Because I just felt like alone and like nobody understood me. But when I met like one of my good friends, whose mom is in recovery, when I met their family, it completely changed.
Yeah, we have a great support system, and you know, she's thought about just as much as I am. You know, my support system calls me, but they message her and call her too. My social worker, Amy Hill, who is amazing, she'll forever be a part of our family. I mean, she's our angel, and she checks on Gracie all the time, and Gracie checks on her, and it's just this rapport of people around us that are just like us in different ways that can relate to the situation. And that's huge when you have support, when you don't feel alone, because just like we felt alone at our like depths of despair, rock bottom, our kids felt alone too. We ripped the rug out from underneath them, and we're supposed to be there to help them during that time, and when we're not there and they feel like they have nobody, that leaves them to have to rely on themselves. And you know, we have to deal with the outcome of that, but it is possible to move on from it. And I mean, you're my biggest cheerleader, my biggest supporter. I mean, she didn't think, when I celebrated my 1 year recovery, she didn't think she was going to be able to speak. And she got up and had the entire room of grown-ass men and women bawling.
Wait a
like,
sec. She spoke in front of an entire room, but
She
was
did.
nervous to
She said
speak
here,
here.
yes,
What
yes.
are we talking about? This is just a laptop.
It's so true.
Hey, but I like blacked out when I spoke out for 1 year. I remember everything went black and I couldn't hear myself talking. I was like, just get through it and sit down.
And she just had everybody crying, and that was the moment that she told me again that she was proud of me. And those words like rang through. I mean, that's all I heard was, "I'm proud of you, Mom. I love you." And I had longed to hear those words for so long. And you know, I earn her trust every day. I have to, like I said, the bathroom things or her checking on me and at night and going places with me. You know, it's just those little things and making sure she's not bottling up any emotions or feelings. You know, if you're feeling some type of way towards me, let's discuss it, because we never talked about it before. We had to shut that door. We both just shut down. And now we have to open that line of communication again. That's probably been the toughest part, was talking
Yeah.
about all of this.
I'm not good with talking about it, but it helps for sure.
Yeah, we're not good with emotions, but that's like what got me in trouble in the first place. And so I'm trying to make sure I do things entirely different than it was done for me, and that she has an outlet. And if not for me, then somebody else that she can talk to.
Well, as everybody else is going to see on this camera, Gracie, you're very mature. And I think that it shows a lot of strength and a lot of growth through this process. This is a very big problem. So I know at times I'm sure you felt alone, and I'm sure you felt like nobody. Unfortunately, it's out there. It's a lot. It's happening a lot, and that's the importance of this video, is because you're getting an opportunity to share a little bit of message, and you're like, hey, look we're working through it. You know, we're building our relationship back. So if you guys had an opportunity to help others in the same situation, would you, and how would you?
Yes, for sure. I've talked about it with Mom a lot. I don't know, I just want to do my best to let other kids know that they are not alone at all, because that put me in like a really messed up mindset for a few years, like thinking I'm alone, nobody gets it, like everyone just thinks, oh, your mom's an active addiction, you're this type of person, like you think you get stereotyped against, but that's not the truth at all. You just feel like targeted all the time, and I just want to like let other people or other children out there, older than me, younger than me, my age, no matter what, like it will get better eventually, you just don't know when.
And I think that, like, I mean, yeah, absolutely, I'll help anybody that I can. I just want to spread a little hope when it comes to the parents and children, because I was just like most parents are when you're at your depths of despair, that it's just an uphill battle. You can't climb. Like, the one thing you want back, the one thing that keeps us getting high to numb, is that pain of our kids. And I didn't even know where to start, but I'll tell you this much: when they start seeing you take accountability and doing something about it, that softens their heart. Our kids are resilient. I mean, I'm such a proud mom. She could be so different, and you know, she is an amazing kid, and she's got so much compassion and heart, and a passion about other kids of, you know, parents that are addicts. And we spoke about starting a support group for you know, for you know, kids, and them having an outlet of being able to go talk about it, and other peers, and meet peers like them that, you know, hey, I've been there, and, you know, almost like, you know, a big buddy, little buddy type thing, you know, with the little kids and the older kids. And so she's been tossing around a lot of ideas about that. And for me, I would love to do some sort of work with other moms and kids, you know, and specific daughters, mothers and daughters, especially the teens. I mean, this is a very hard age for them. And it's a very hard time to try to earn back the trust, but you do with hard work. And it'd be kind of cool to do some work with, like, mothers and daughters, some sort of retreats, you know, where we go and
That'd be
work on
cool.
that. Yeah, it would be kind of cool. So we've got some ideas and things that we would really love to do
All
to
up
help.
in the air right now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and we're always open to suggestions too, you know. I mean, we would love to hear if there's from anybody else that, you know, something that's necessary and needed. I think that's the great thing about the recovery family, is we're always finding a way to start those programs and those resources that are needed to help, because this is such a huge epidemic, and it can't be done alone, you know. So
Definitely. Well, 5 Hour Recovery, the part of it is being a network, right? It's not necessarily a program, it's more of a network. We gather resources that are available to us, and we use those resources to help others, right? And what you guys just described would be an absolute amazing addition to 5 Hour Recovery. A mother and daughter who joined together to help other mothers and daughters build their relationship. I mean, I think it would be absolute. You guys could run it on by yourselves, completely be in control of it, and I think it would be an absolute wonderful addition to 5 Hour Recovery and everything that you guys are doing. Your guys' maturity and the way you guys have gone through this could really, really help people.
yeah,
So
what do you think? Yeah.
I'm down.
Yep.
Maybe once this COVID stops, then
Yes,
we can maybe
yes.
get out a little bit more.
Yes, and
After we're allowed to actually gather.
yes, right. So yeah, that's something we're gonna be working on, and you know, I love the 5 Hour Recovery. It's just like an outlet, another resource, and I'm grateful for it because we don't. I don't know. There's just so much stigma and so much, and I just feel like free to be myself and you know who I am in recovery and you know with other people that are in this group too. So, and I think it'd be great to get something started for the kids. I think it's necessary. So,
It's definitely needed.
and I just work hard, just do it. You know what I mean? It's so much worth it. I mean, my worst day sober is still better than my best day high. You know, I mean. It's the best way I can describe it. And even when we fight, I'm just so damn grateful to have her in this house to fight with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Slamming the doors, I'm like, oh God, I miss that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when she's mumbling under her breath, you know, and I'm like, oh, well, at least she's not hanging up the phone on me. I'm actually physically here to be like, go to your room. You know, like.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it gets better. It's not easy, but it gets better. And I'm grateful that she
We
gave
definitely
me.
have our days.
We
so
definitely
for sure.
have our days, yeah. And I'm just grateful you gave me the chance to prove myself again, and I'll continue proving myself every day, you know. But I love you and I'm proud of
I see a hug moment.
you.
Hug moment.
She's bad with this. but-
Okay.
I love
Well,
you, honey.
thank you, ladies, so
Thank
much.
you.
I don't know what time are we at here.
Thank you. We're at 21:06.
You guys did so good on your time frame. So I'm Johnny Reyes. Amanda, this is Gracie. So as we talked about before, 5 Hour Recovery is trying to join people in resources and unite them with their story and make things happen. As you heard, this was an absolutely amazing story. And I appreciate you guys sharing it with us. So.
We appreciate you giving us the opportunity. Thank you very
Yep,
much.
no problem. So you can find 5R on all social media platforms. You can find it on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. If you want to email me and give me your testimony and your story, you can email me at 4addictsfromaddicts@gmail.com. And 5R Recovery is out there. We're just trying to build it up, and I really appreciate you, ladies. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.